another LinkedIn Live with MinSearch. I am the MinSearch president, Michelle Stinson-Ross, and I'm so pleased to have Jyll Saskin Gales joining me today. Hello, Jyll. How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. For those of our audience that maybe aren't as familiar, you were telling me you're based in Canada, so our American friends might not be quite as familiar with you as they should be. Would you mind just like giving people a little bit of your background for a few minutes?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm based in Toronto. I'm a Google Ads coach and teacher. And my background is I studied psychology in undergrad. I have an MBA from Harvard Business School. I worked at Google for 6 years as part of the large customer ad sales team. And then 3 years ago, left Google and started my own business and had a bit of a different path into getting to start my own business. I
Hmm.
actually started posting content on TikTok about Google Ads because I saw, no one was quite doing that in 2021 and was fortunate to go viral there pretty quickly, had people reaching out wanting to hire me. And so I started by just setting up small business owners with Google Ads for the first time. And then over the last 3 years have evolved my business to offer online courses, coaching, consulting, content creation. And I love our industry. I love Google Ads with all warts and all and excitement.
Hmm. Fantastic. So I know when you say you worked for Google, everybody's ears probably perked up. You want to share a little bit about what that experience was like, just because I know everybody's going to be curious.
Yeah, I missed the food. The food was great. We had breakfast, lunch, coffee bar. We were very spoiled that way. Working for Google was wonderful. I worked there from 2015 to 2021. Got to work with great people, great clients. These were the kind of clients who spend millions a year on Google Ads.
Hmm.
Now I can say that's like running Google Ads on easy mode, though it didn't feel like it at the time. And my role specifically was I was an international growth consultant. So the way the large customer sales works at Google, when you spend lots and lots of money, is you not only have your account team, but you get all these different specialists. And there are mobile specialists, display specialists, video specialists, and on and on and on. And we all vie for the chance to get to work with these different clients. So I got to work with some of Canada's largest retailers, travel companies, B2B companies, and help them expand outside of Canada using
Hmm.
Google's ad products and insights. And then because I was part of a global team of international growth consultants, I also got to help some of the largest companies in other countries when they wanted to start doing business in Canada. So working at Google was a great experience. I didn't leave because I didn't like it anymore. I just was looking for a different challenge. This was during COVID. We were all working from home. And I definitely found a new challenge in growing my own business.
So fun. Tell me a little bit about the experience on TikTok.
Yeah, TikTok, I mean, it's evolved a lot since I got started 3 years ago. It feels like 3 decades ago. But I love the opportunity to just, pull up my phone, have an idea I want to share, and then right away, hundreds of people can see that and interact. I got to really understand my audience
Hmm.
so much better. I mean, I didn't have an audience before that. And so, fast forward to today on TikTok, I have think like 62,000 followers or something, which blows my mind. But it's really a lot of small business owners, beginners, people looking to get started. And I love being able to fill that gap for them because there's not a ton of information about how to do that with Google Ads. And then, kind of separately, through LinkedIn, for example, I have an audience of more fellow PPC practitioners. We get to use our jargon, have more advanced conversations. So it's really nice in my business now that I can use these different platforms to have different conversations with people at whatever stage of Google Ads they're at right now.
Very cool. So you've mentioned small business beginners as well as talking to your colleagues in the PPC discipline. What are you seeing as far as kind of the state of paid search advertising, that pay per click advertising? Because, we were talking just a moment ago. Google has given us several moments of, am I crazy or did something just change?
It's true. We are definitely in an age of more rapid change than ever, more uncertainty than ever, less control. And so some examples of that would be, for example, the way match types have changed. I know all of us who've been running Google Ads for even just a few years, 2 to 3 years, never mind a decade or more, would start checking our accounts and say, what's going on? Why is that in my search terms? And it turns out that quietly, without making announcements, Google changed the definitions of match types back in 2021. I used the Wayback Machine to figure that out. For example, exact match keywords no longer means the user search must exactly match my keyword. Exact match now means the user search must exactly match the meaning or intent of my keyword. And so practically, this means if you had a brand campaign before, Netflix, exact match, you would only search if someone searches for Netflix or maybe Netflix misspelled. Now, the exact match keyword Netflix can match to Disney Plus, because according to Google, that's same intent or meaning. So really different. And no, you are not crazy if this happened to you, but that's just one example of the way these things have really evolved and changed. Another is automatically created assets being turned on by default in accounts. So all of a sudden I'll be on a coaching call with a client and they're like, this campaign started doing terribly. And it turns out that an automatically created site link was added to the campaign, linking to their careers page. So suddenly they're paying a ton of money for people to click to apply to jobs at their company, which is not at all what they're trying to advertise for. And that has happened to multiple clients I've seen in the last 12 months. It's not an outlier. So in terms of the state of PPC today, I think it's more confusing and overwhelming than ever. But I also think it's really exciting. I'm someone who really tries to not look back, look forward. Okay, match types changed. Okay, automatic created assets are there. How are we going to move forward and work with the system rather than fighting against it and moaning about how things used to be? But I acknowledge that's a really difficult mindset to have when our livelihoods are dependent on this thing that we can never quite grasp and understand.
Sure. So you said that when you were working with clients at Google, those budgets were kind of easy mode type budget. What would be your advice to either business owners that are doing it for themselves or for those consultants that are working with those small to medium businesses with commensurate, ad spend available? What would be your advice for these smaller budget operators?
My first piece of advice would be if you can't spend at least $20 per day per campaign for at least 2 months and potentially see zero ROI, don't spend the money on ads. It's not worth it. If we're talking performance max, I change my recommendation to at least $50 a day for at least 2 months and potentially see no ROI. So sufficient budget is a key one. I would say the next a common mistake I see small business owners make is that their website is just not ready to support ads. So for example, I met with a client this week. She'd been through 3 Google Ads freelancers, said none of them drove good results. And so she hired me to help her learn Google Ads to do it herself. But we looked at her Shopify analytics and saw her conversion rate was 0.3% on an average order value of about $150. So no, even if you had the best Google Ads freelancer in the world, there's just no way to make that profitable. The conversion rate of the website's not high enough. And so that's the second thing I'd say to small business owners is your conversion rate needs to be high enough to support ads. And my rule of thumb for that is you want your conversion rate times your average order value to be at least $2 before you run ads. And then I guess the third piece I'd say for small business owners or the freelancers who support them is often because it can be tricky to get conversion tracking set up or remarketing audiences set up. People just launch their ads without them. But in this day of age, those are the most important signals going into your bidding algorithms, your targeting algorithms to determine who sees your ads. So with very few exceptions, like you should not be spending a penny on Google Ads in 2024 if you don't have accurate conversion tracking set up and if you are not feeding your audience data into Google Ads as well.
Okay, really interesting. So, as much as some of my membership has been saying lately, it's like, why are we talking so much about analytics? That's the reason why we're talking so much about analytics. You can't run ads or do any of the other things unless you're actually collecting and tracking all of that data.
Exactly. And so that's why with this business owner, for example, she's a smart business owner, right? But she doesn't know what she doesn't know. And all these freelancers who worked with her, like, shame on them. They were probably pulling their hair out thinking, I'm doing all the right things. Why are the ads not working? But ads don't work in a vacuum. The website has to convert, and ads just bring more people to a website that doesn't convert. So analytics are important. I know we're all struggling through GA4. I'm still very beginner at GA4, but being able to see your most basic metrics, like the conversion rate of your website, where your traffic is coming from, and how the conversion rate varies by traffic source, just
Mm-hmm.
learning that alone is going to make or break, whether you should run ads and how to know if the ads are working once they're running. Because of course we can see that in Google Ads, but that's just one piece of the puzzle. Google Analytics or similar tools give you the complete picture and context you need.
Fantastic. So we've had a few people join live since our conversation started. The reason I am chatting with Jyll today is Jyll is going to be one of our speakers at the summit on June 14th. If you haven't gotten your tickets, here's where to go get them. I wanted Jyll to take a little bit of time and give us a sneak peek at her topic that she's going to be speaking on at the summit and give you guys yet another reason. How many reasons do I need to give you? But I'll give you yet another one to purchase that ticket and actually come see Jyll in person. So, Jyll, do you want to talk a little bit about what your topic is for the MinSearch Summit?
Yes, I'm going to be talking about creating great ad assets in an AI first world. And the reason I chose this topic is because AI gets all the headlines and all the emotions and the feelings about what's happening in our field. But there are three main kinds of AI leveraged in Google Ads. There's automated bidding, automated targeting, automated creative. And of those three, AI is really good at bidding, it's really good at targeting, and it sucks at creative.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want great results from your ads, there are still fundamentals for creating great text ads, creating great image ads, and creating great video ads that, at least for the foreseeable future, AI won't displace us. And so that's what I'm going to be sharing. I actually have 15 things you must do to have the best text, image, and video ads. And I'm really excited to share all of those with real life examples from the Google Ads library, so that folks who attend will learn how to get better results from their ads, not by spending more, not by adding more negative keywords, not by changing their bid strategy, but just by creating more effective ads.
Fantastic. I love that. For any of you that are watching live, we can see your comments and whatever. So if you have any questions for Jyll as you're watching, pop them up there and we'll discuss them. You said something really interesting that I think kind of puts the whole discussion that we've been having around AI into some pretty important context. For anybody that has been running ads, and honestly, not just in Google, but any type of digital ad, if you've been running them in Meta or Pinterest or anything else, we as paid marketers, as those that are paying for ad placement, we've actually been working with AI for years because, like you said, there's the AI governing the algorithm, there's the AI governing the bid strategy. And thank you for saying that. Do you want to expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. AI sounds big and scary because it's in the mainstream now. But AI was really not new. AI has been around for decades and decades. Machine learning is newer, but to the world of paid ads, not new at all. It's really just ChatGPT and these other kinds of generative AI that have everyone all at Twitter. But AI, augments what humans can do. So, like, can you still manual bid in Google Ads? Sure, but as long as you're giving it the right data, smart bidding will outperform you. Like, it just will. I'll put a stake in the ground and say that, even though I know people disagree, because the caveat is putting the right information in. And with AI, it's such a misnomer to call it artificial intelligence. It's not intelligent at all, right? It just, we give it something and then it can give us something back. And so when you give it garbage, it's going to give you garbage back. If you give it good quality information and data, then it'll give you good quality information and data
It's data
back.
processing.
Exactly. It's data processing at a scale that the human brain can't do. So, like, yes, please, AI, please take over bidding. I remember the days when we had to download spreadsheets from Keyword Planner and set every bid and monitor them daily. No one enjoyed doing that, right? Happy to give that up. But great creative, especially on meta ads, but we're seeing it more with Google Ads now, what we call like creative-led targeting. Like, targeting, has opened up, has gone broad. You can't control your keywords the way you used to. You can't control your audiences the way you used to. The thing you can completely control is your creative. Okay, a responsive ad may put the different building blocks in different places, but you give it the building blocks, the text,
Mm-hmm.
the image, the video. And so the more specific your creative is to your target audience, the more it incorporates some of the best practices we'll go over in the talk, the better the algorithm is going to learn who are the right and wrong people to show your ad to, and it's going to improve campaign effectiveness overall. So I think creative is the most neglected of that bidding, targeting, creative triad. I actually did a poll on LinkedIn about 2 weeks ago. Which do you think is most important? And poor creative got third place, the short chat. But it's the one for those who love control that we have most control over now. And it's the one where PPC practitioners, we didn't need to have copywriting skills 5 years ago. We didn't need to have, graphic design skills 5 years ago. I think we do now, at least if you can't do it yourself, to be able to give proper direction to people who have those skills so they can help you create the most effective ads and get the most out of your ad spend.
Well, this goes to user experience, right? Of the things that actually impact how a human being engages with your business online, that's creative. That's like, what is the experience that we're creating? And not only do we need to create a good experience in the nice little Google box, but once they click through, is that experience consistent with the page that they land on when they click through? All of that's creative.
It absolutely is. And again, I'm glad you mentioned the website as it as well. In this call I mentioned earlier this week with the 0.2% conversion rate, we saw that the issue was that almost no one was adding to cart. Like less than 1% of people who visited the website were adding a product to cart. And I'm just like, that's crazy. Usually that number is kind of 10 to 20%. Mm-hmm. And so what do you know? On the landing page, there were no products to add to cart. So like, that's why. And then when you went to a product page,
why aren't they buying? Because they didn't have anything to buy on that page.
They couldn't. And then if you did manage to find your way to a product page, there was a huge bright pink button to find the right size, and then way down below a small black button that said add to cart. And so again, that's why I consider having some basic CRO knowledge, to be part of the PPC practitioners' required skills today, because there's nothing we can do in the Google Ads platform that can overcome a user not being able to find the add to cart button. You just can't.
Right. Because at the end of the day, all the ad does is drive that first click. It gets the customer to wherever it is you wanted them to go. But if you wanted them to go to a page where they can't actually buy anything, it's kind of a problem.
Yes. And I'm not just calling out this one client. I see this again and again and again and again, very similar. Another business, I'll never forget this one that I worked with about 2 years ago when I did a little website audit for them. They had added this Shopify extension that was like an upsell in the cart, before checkout. But what they didn't realize was on mobile, it overtook the whole screen. So you couldn't complete checkout. And they just didn't put the two together, because when you're a business owner and a solopreneur, you're doing 500 things a day. And so they were like, I need help with my conversion rate. And so I just showed them, well, I physically can't check out because you added this app. They removed it, boom, fix. And again, that's not an ads thing. But suddenly ROAS is going to skyrocket, because you removed the Shopify extension.
Yeah. So, drive the customer there and then get out of the customer's way.
And then get out of the customer's way. Or I say it's like a bucket, right? It's like your website's this leaky bucket, and ads pours more water into the bucket, but the bucket's never going to fill if it's full of holes. And you can't patch all the holes. Wouldn't 100% conversion rate be lovely? But the more holes you can patch, the fuller you're going to be able to get that bucket.
Gotcha. So as far as creative and that experience, is there like one little tip, not to give away your entire talk, but is there like one little tip that you could share with us today just to kind of tease and whet people's appetite for the rest of the tips that you'll be sharing at the summit?
Sure. So one of the tips I give for imagery, and this comes from actual research Google did to determine which ads perform better and don't, is that with your Performance Max or demand gen images, you want to have a single focal point, centrally framed, real humans using your product in a real life context. That's a few tips combined in one. And so a mistake I often see people make with Performance Max, especially in e-com, is they connect their feed and they're like, great, I have all my e-commerce images. The phone floating in space, the lollipop floating in space.
Right.
But what's so much more effective is to show someone using the phone, a cute kid eating the lollipop. These are the kinds of images, the kinds of creative that are going to grab attention more, that are going to appeal to your target audience.
Mhm.
And at the same time, something I say a lot is you also want your creative to not appeal to your not target audience. This is something
Very
that actually Amy
interesting.
Hebden coined.
Yeah,
Yeah,
please say more.
yeah, coined. She calls it anti-audiences, which I love, so I'm stealing that from her. But basically, a great example of this is, let's say you sell dog food, right? So you may be like, oh, I'm going to put a picture of a cute dog because that's going to get really high engagement. And it's like, yeah, that'll get really high engagement, not from people who want to buy dog food. Everyone loves cute dogs. And I've worked with multiple pet food companies before on this. So to get better performance from your ads as a pet food company, you might actually want a lower click-through rate. You want to make sure your products are showing, a human putting a bowl of dog food in front of the dog, right? Or something about like the benefits of the dog food itself. So that creative will not appeal to people who like cute dogs. But you know what? Your target audience is not people who like cute dogs. It's people who have a dog and want to feed them this food. This is also really applicable for B2B. Often they'll use these generic stock photos like, happy people talking, boardroom on a computer. Like that's not, for the text that B2B companies use, sometimes, solutions to grow your business. Like, no, you want to be really specific. You want to intentionally include jargon in your headlines that your not target audience wouldn't understand, so they don't click.
Oh,
And on
that's
the
so
flip side,
brilliant.
that your target audience, like, whoa, I don't usually see people using that jargon, and they do understand and they do click. So whether it's a text, image, or video asset, there are ways to create content that turns off the people you don't want to reach. And that's actually one of the greatest ways you can get better results, by targeting fewer people, by forcing the algorithm, right, to show your ads to fewer people, but more of the right people.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
It's kind of counterintuitive with the way that we've been doing things for so long. I'm like, I get it. And it's like, okay, that's a really good way to think about how we need to change. Yes, the environment around us is changing. How do we adapt? That's a really brilliant adaptation.
Oh, well, thank you. And so that's again why I like to talk about creative more. Because we have less control over the targeting, we need to do what a lot of meta practitioners call creative led targeting. And it's absolutely the case now that your creative itself is an important part of your targeting. Yeah.
So, for those of you that have been enjoying what Jill's had to say, here's her LinkedIn. I know she would like more followers, more connections, all that other kind of stuff. Jill, what are some of the other places that they can connect with you? Like, what other opportunities do people have to learn from you? Can you tell us a little bit more about that for a minute?
Yeah, absolutely. So in my business, I offer coaching and I have online courses. So I do one-on-one calls with entrepreneurs, business owners, fellow marketers, and you can learn more about that at jyll.ca, JYLL.ca. And then I also offer 2 Google Ads courses: Google Ads for Beginners, self-explanatory, and then Inside Google Ads, which is my signature membership program. And those are at learn.jyll.ca.
Fantastic. Wow. I I learned some stuff. You
Yay, I'm so
kind of
glad.
you blew my mind just a little bit for a
And this
minute.
is just a preview of what's happening next week.
Mhm. I am absolutely excited and thrilled that you're going to be with us in person soon. I will be there to hand you your favorite beverage, lady. Um, Thank you so much for taking some time and giving us a sneak peek into your topic as well as a bit of your background, and help us also sanity check that no, we're not crazy. There's actually some things we need to change. It's okay. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you in person.
Yes, I look forward to seeing you next week. And for those watching who are in the area, hope to see you there too.
All right. Jyll Saskin Gales, thank you very